This is what it is, okay? I said empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Welcome to the 38th episode of the Deployment Dojo. A little bit of background noise left over for me getting everything set up, because this is a live show where we introduce and discuss software installation topics using the WiX Toolset. I'm your host, Rob Mensching. I have cleared my plate, so we're ready to get started. And joining me with all of you is David Edson. David, how are you doing, my friend?
Pretty good, thanks.
All right, so I wanted to carry on a little bit from where we were last week and dig in a little deeper into WiX Extensions, because we kind of just hit the cursory, hey, look, we can pull these, they come down from NuGet, all that kind of good stuff. I want to dig in a little bit deeper, just so we have maybe remove some of the magic smoke from them, like make them less special and just go, okay, this is how they work. Does that sound good?
Sure.
All right.
Let's do it.
I thought we'd start by showing you that you don't always have to have a special element, a custom element. So that's what we're going to do first. Kata 0.
Okay.
All right, let's get our build test up. Let's go ahead and get our build things up. Welcome, everybody. Looks like we have a couple new people. Panda Black, hey, welcome. And Tom Lee. Tom Lee, is that name familiar? I don't know.
Yeah, I think Tom Lee's been here before.
Been here before, that sounds familiar. All right, cool. All right, build goo. Open up my build command, update my build version, because we are in episode 38, like I said in the beginning. Welcome all of you, Bert, Martin, and Tom, Paul. Paul's here too as well. Great to have you guys. Let's go ahead and get this started. What did I call this thing? I called this using WiX Extensions without a custom element, because that's what I kind of wanted to do. All right, we're gonna add our build file, start episode 38, using WiX Extensions without a custom element. And that's kind of the name of the game today. And then we'll dig into them a little bit farther to go, wait, without a custom element, what does that mean and how does it work? That's what we're going to answer today. All right, now we're set. We've got our first commit ready, our build command updated, and I want to go back to the custom element we added. All right, if you remember, David, we talked about adding a custom namespace to have all of the, oh, Bert caught me.
Yep.
You gotta be a little faster on me, Dave. Episode 38, new branch.
Yeah, Bert had it up real quick. I was like, well, you'll see it in a sec.
Yeah, all right. There's always a little delay, a couple seconds delay for them between us. All right. You know, maybe we'll clean that up here at the end. I don't know, maybe we won't. We probably won't have time. It's just some Git stuff. When I make mistakes and put things on the wrong branch, how to fix it. Maybe we'll do that, but not right now. I want to dig into this. All right. If you remember, we started off saying, hey, there's all these things built into Windows Installer. That is covered by the WXS namespace, the things that are built in. And then we have the ability to bring in extensions to add functionality that's not built in the Windows Installer, but that is provided by WiX to make to just provide a whole lot of extra functionality beyond the Windows Installer. And the way we refer to that, I said, was using this namespace. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and this namespace mapped to an extension. If we open up our dependencies, our WiX extensions, we now see WiX Toolset UI over here in on the right. Well, in my right, it might be Solution Explorer on the left. In the Solution Explorer, in the WiX extensions section of HeatWave, it shows the WiX Toolset UI extension that is the thing for this namespace, which is what allows us to use UI:WiX UI and all this functionality that comes in from the WiX Toolset UI. All right, hopefully this all kind of goes together.
Yep.
All right, and the end result is that in a MS Build project, we get this package reference up to the WiX Toolset UI WiX extension with that version number. That's what this is referring to. All right, so that's the magic sauce. Then when we build an MS build, it brings all the parts down, hooks them all together, and gives us a build. And we did that also from the command line, just to remember how to use the command line, which I had forgotten a bit of, and also then how to add extensions and all those kinds of things from the command line, if you remember. All right.
Right.
All right, so that's all the stuff we did there. And I made it sound through all that whole episode that you always had to have a custom namespace and some custom element to be able to use things from an extension. And that's not true. It is definitely one of the more common things, and the more powerful or the more intricate pieces of things that need more configuration have custom elements. But it's also possible for us to refer to just plain old WiX constructs that are in WiX extensions. All right. You're probably thinking like, what does that mean, Rob? All right, so if we go back and look at our class library here, I don't think we have any at this point in time. All of our properties and everything are just used within this, within here, right? Yeah, so, remember in our package, we have these component group refs? Right. So here's our package, our feature, and then we say, hey, as part of this main feature, we'd like to include our class library components, our console app components, our Word Forms app components, and our Windows Service components. And these components then are in other source files. Like here's our class library components right here. That brings in all this content over here, if you remember. Then our console app, which is this nice little simple one, and so on and so forth, right?
Right.
So that ref is important because that's the thing that says go off, grab that code, and bring it in to our overall package, because the WiX toolset starts at package or bundle or module, and it sucks up all this stuff here, right? Right. This is where it starts, and then it goes and finds all the parts it needs down from here. All right. Hopefully this kind of rings a bell.
Yep.
All right. Good. So, what if there was stuff inside an extension that we wanted to use? If an extension had things inside it that we could refer to. Well, it turns out they actually do that. And this WiX UI is one way of referring to it. There's custom code in the WiX UI that will pull parts out of this extension and add it to our final MSI behind the scenes as part of the code here that extends the WiX compiler, right? This element and this extension work together to cause custom code to run inside the compiler during our build to suck in and generate a whole bunch of code, okay?
Okay.
I'm belaboring this. This is stuff that we covered before. But it's also possible, when documented, to refer to just straight up elements inside that. All right. So what's the scenario that we're going to do this? One of the things that's true about all of our code so far is that it's all managed, right? Even our Windows service is managed, and our Windows Form app is managed, and our console app is managed. Right? And our class library is another managed assembly, right? A whole bunch of assemblies. And in this case, I have been picking, just because I think is the default in this version of Visual Studio. No, I didn't mean to bump that. Sorry. I actually want to talk about exactly that. The target framework. We have been targeting the .NET Framework 4.7.2 with all these projects we created. All right. So, like, no surprise there. It's like, all right, we could pick .NET 4.6. We could have picked, .NET 4.5's out of service. We could have picked .NET 4.8, all right? But we have been picking .NET 4.7.2 to this point, all right? I haven't lost you at all. Like, okay, I guess I'm just stating the truth at this point in time, right?
Right.
All right. We're like, all right, Rob, tell me something I don't know. All right, what happens if we install on a computer that doesn't have the .NET 4.7.2? Is our stuff going to work? No, right? It's all going to be like, you're going to try to run this managed code. Managed code's going to say, no, I'm done. All right, so today what I want to do is I want to prevent our package from installing if .NET Framework 4.7.2 is not installed on the machine. Does that make sense? Seems like a reasonable thing to do, right?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So if you remember, we've talked about these before, but we have launch conditions, right? And if you remember, I always have problems getting the logic right in these, because the logic is always backwards the way my brain works. Framework 4.7.2 or newer. All right, so that's the error message we want to see if we do not have the .NET Framework installed. All right.
All right.
All right. And then I need a condition, because that's what this error message is telling me. And I need to then say, netfx472 something, right? Like I need some property or something that will tell me, hey, how do I detect that .NET Framework 472 is on the machine? Well, it would turn out that those of us in WiX Toolset, we've done the work to provide that for you out of the box. All right. So if we go up here, I'm going to bring up wixtoolset.org, up and over. Okay. And we go to docs. Then we go down here into WiX Toolset and concepts. I think WiX Toolset and concepts. And here's our extensions and custom actions. And then look right here, we have a thing called detecting and installing the .NET. Great. Detecting and installing .NET. And it's actually going to give me all the examples I need for doing things with .NET Framework. I want to jump to this list. The .NET Framework detection properties for MSI packages. I could also search for all these words. I just kind of wanted to go down this tree for once, because normally I'm just doing a search and jumping in the middle doc. This tree you can find your way down to. And now you can see all these properties that are in the WiX tool set. Is 4.0 or later installed, 4.5, 4.5.1, 4.5.2, 4.6. I probably can get rid of a bunch of these since there are so many, since many of these are out of service, but they're still in there in WiX. And it's here. WiX is Net Framework 4.7.2 or later installed. Set to 1 if the .NET 4.7.2 or later is installed. That sounds perfect for what we need, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep. All right, so I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to drop it right here in my condition. I'm going to say the condition. This must be true for us to continue to install. Otherwise, it's going to print this message up here at the top. Right?
Yep.
Right? We're done, right? Let's just go ahead and build. At this point, the narrator comes in and says they are not done. Oh, and Martin's right. Martin's right. We should do this. Installed or that. Remember we have that conversation? I really should add that at the front. You're right, Martin. I should always start all my launch conditions with installed or right there. Okay, so the build succeeded. Let's go ahead and bring up our sandbox and get ourselves started. Episode 38, good. Sandbox is starting. I haven't booted in a bit. I did have to install some Windows system updates, so sometimes it's a little slower starting after those come down. All right, here we go. Sandbox spinning up. Here, there, yep. And there's our program files, x86. Cool. All right, bin, x86, debug, enus. Let's go ahead and install. You must install .NET Framework 4.7.2 or newer. All right, well, how do you tell if you have .NET Framework or anything installed? Oh, I can't check these inside the sandbox. All right, I'm running Windows 11, and I have the .NET Framework turned on automatically, and I think Windows 11 has .NET Framework 4.8. So this error message is wrong. It should be passing right now. Okay, so why is it wrong? Well, it's because we referred to this property and said, hey, I just want to use this thing, but it's not built in. This is a WiX property. One of the things we've tried to become a little bit clearer, it has WiX in front of it, right? This comes from the WiX toolset. It's not built in. We just said, hey, give us this property. It would have been like if we just named any random property. We could have just put foo here. Would foo have been true? Not if we didn't define it, right? Right, you know? So we need to have that property. Okay, well, WiX said this property is available. So let's go ahead and just like we could do a component group ref, we can do a property ref. Property ref ID equals WiX is framework installed. There, now what we're saying is, hey, go find me the WiX is Net Framework 4.7.2 or later installed. Give me that property. Make it defined, okay? Because it's part of WiX. It should just give it to me, right?
Okay.
All right. It's supposed to be out there. I'm going to do a build, and it said it cannot find the property WiX is Net Framework 4.7.2 or later installed. All right. And here we are at the point where it's essentially the same place we were before. We're asking for some functionality that's not built in the .NET Framework. This detection of 4.7.2 is not built into the .NET Framework, but WiX does provide it, but it's not built into the core compiler linker of WiX. It's built into an extension. And I totally skimmed over all that documentation. If I bring it up, it skipped over all the important parts. It says, how do you use all this stuff, right?
Right.
Oh, actually, it tells us right here. I just didn't scroll down. Actually, no, this is pretty good. This is actually great. Wow. It's almost like I read this, but I didn't. I skipped over all these parts. Anyway, here's our property ref to say, hey, go give us the property that I need. I want WiX 472, and then I want a message. I said, you must install instead of this application requires. I think that text is probably better than ours, but whatever. There's the installed or, Martin. This is Bob, I think, doing most of this documentation, so props to Bob if he's out there with our launch condition. But things still don't work, right? And the end result is that all of this comes from the .NET Framework extension, which is probably documented at the top. Yes. .NET Framework, the WiX Toolset NetEffects WiX extension includes support for the traditional .NET Framework. And so let's go ahead and add that extension. Okay, so all this functionality we've been looking at all comes from this extension. This property ref is normals, which means that extension doesn't have to have a custom element. It's just going to define a property for us. So let's go ahead and use NuGet real quick. Manage NuGet packages. I'm going to add a new one. Not the installed ones, browse. I don't know why it always starts with the installed. Please find WiX Toolset. Thank you. I will install it. This updates our local project, remember? WiX Toolset NetEffects shows up in our list of extensions. And now when I build, clears our errors. And we have no errors yet. Build started. Build started. Still running.
Maybe.
There. Build succeeded. Build succeeded because we said we wanted this property, and that property is inside this extension. We don't have to always have a custom element. We don't have to have a XMLNS, NetEffects, something, whatever, and then refer to this. This is just a property that we can reach in and pull out of the extension. Okay?
All right.
How do you know that? Well, today, it's documented. In FireGiant, we'd like to do more things in HeatWave to make that easier. Future features, all kinds of cool stuff. But right now, it's documented. That's how you discover them. But we're going to look at the end and how to do them a little bit more. All right, Sandbox is still here. This is our new built one. If everything works correctly, this should install. How about we open a command prompt so I can get a log file, right? Because the all-important log file. Install belt test, l*v, i.text for install.txt. All right, we're going to install our belt test package and get a log file with all the good stuff in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go. Look, our UI came up and no error message. That means that we at least got past that. Let's go ahead. Notepad i.text. So we've gotten far enough. I'll make this bigger and bigger. We've gotten far enough to know that this property that we did a property ref that we don't know how it's implemented because it's inside that extension. It's out there somewhere, has passed this condition. So we should be able to look in here and find what that value is set to. So go search for WiX is network 472 or later installed, do a find next. And there it is, and it's doing a set to that set installed. So inside there somewhere is a set action, a set property, setting that to the value. Set the value, please. Property, there it is. Property change. Adding WiX is NetFramework 472 or later installed, its value is 1. So somewhere inside that extension did all the work to do this. Set is NetFramework 472 to true.
Right.
Okay. And we've seen this before, right? We've seen this set behavior before because we have it in our own console or our class library where we do our remember property using that same set behavior. Right. So there must be some code in WiX in that WiX NetEffects extension that's doing the same sorts of thing, except in this case, detecting the .NET Framework. Cool.
Right. Cool.
Right? Yep. Does all make sense? If we go to the end, we could say, hey, we're at the welcome EULA dialog. I just want to show you that you can open the Windows install or log file while the install is running and look at it. And you can see this is as far as we've gotten so far. Sometimes that's useful. We haven't done that in the past. Unfortunately, I don't know that Notepad. Actually, will the new Notepad refresh? All right, let me make it big. We'll come down here. We're at the welcome dialog. I'm going to say, oh, install. I guess we'll hit install. Let's see if I hit F5, does it work? No. F5 still puts, you see it's putting the date time inside this file. There. I want F5 to like refresh this. I don't, maybe there's a refresh. No. All right, anyway. So close it. I changed it. I don't want to change it. There we go. Now I can open the log file again while the install is still, whoop, that's a little big. That's a little big. All right. And then come all the way in. You can see the exit dialog has been created. And if we look, indeed, it is the exit dialog. All right, whatever. So you can use other tools to like keep track of log file. It's just useful if you want to do that. And yay, we've installed. All right, as we expected, because .NET Framework is on this machine, and we know that because, well, the apps worked
Right.
before, right? So we didn't expect it. I'm not going to go through the work to try to uninstall .NET Framework because the sandbox is picking the one that's installed on my machine, and that would make all kinds of things of a mess here. So we're just going to have to use something not the sandboxed to test that particular launch condition if we want to validate that it's not there.
Right.
All right. Okay. So what have we learned right here in this first part of the episode? We've learned that we can just do references of things into the extensions, like the WiX Toolset NetF extension. In this case, just go and grab a property out and say, hey, give me this property, without necessarily having to go through a custom element. Although sometimes a custom element is needed to pull things out in different. So we have both functionality: custom elements that do lots of work inside the compiler, or property ref, which is no different than any property ref that we can use ourselves. All right.
Right.
Okay. So and we've tried to get clean up our space a little bit so that you know that, oh, I'm referring to a WiX thing. Give you some idea that it's an extension that's part of WiX. Then you can go get it. Okay. Let's go see how this is done. All right. Let's go see how this is actually put together at this point. Ready?
Yep.
All right. Count of one. Okay. So how is this implemented? We're going to go. Do you want to look at the source code first, or should we go to the source code? Do you want to look at the source code first, or do you want to reverse engineer the extension? Your choice. Do you want to start?
Really sure on this one.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and we're going to reverse engineer it. All right. I'm going to go to all right. Let's see. C colon users. I have to open up my NuGet packages folder. Okay. So when you do all these package restores, you know, and you bring all this code, all your C#, that gets put into your user profile .nuget.packages by default. And then you go looking, you will find all of our extensions that we've been using. I've been using all of them because when I build WiX, I get all of them as part of the build here for testing purposes. But here's the WiX Toolset NetF extension. I know this is going to be small. And here's 401 that we were just using. Okay, so this is that NuGet package that we pulled down from NuGet, and NuGet explodes all this. All this is done by NuGet underneath here for us, okay?
Right. And that is in our project file too. I noticed we didn't bring it up.
Correct. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Here it is. Yep, see, there's WiX Toolset NFX. The fact that this is in here, then the restore part of the MS build goes to NuGet and says, all right, I'm gonna go get that stuff and explode it into this directory right here, your user profile, and then the name of the extension, all lowercase, and then the version number. And then this is like the stuff that's inside it. Okay. For example, you can see here's our image of the logo that is default logo that's inside the package. This is what shows up on NuGet for this particular NuGet package. And by the way, here's the NuGet package itself. Okay. But they've explored it all out for us, which is great. All right. So if we look at WiX extension 4, there's our assembly. All right.
All right.
All right, so let's go ahead and take this thing apart. That's what I want to do next. And I'm trying to remember, I hope I have it. I'll spy. All right, cool.
Yep.
All right, cool, I have it. Can I make this bigger? Oh, I thought I could make this one bigger. Bummer. All right, hopefully the tree over here will be big enough.
Yeah, I can it's stretching my eyes, but I can see it.
Not quite as big as I want. View. I wanted something. Night mode. I really wanted there to be a plus. All right. So I'm just going to expand this out. This is a .NET Framework assembly. Okay. So it's just C# code in the end that we'll be able to see. Here are C# classes. Here's a NetFX compiler. This tells us that this does have extensions in it. And we're not going to dig into this code, but this is the code itself that can extend the compiler. But in this case, we didn't need any of those extra things, because NetFX has a whole bunch of functionality into it. What we were doing was just grabbing a WiX lib. See, there's a WiX lib embedded inside this NetFX. Do you remember WiX libs, David? The WiX libraries.
We haven't messed with them for a while, but yeah.
Yeah, we were doing projects with lots of them, and in the end, I just created one. We could create a library, but it allows us to group a bunch of our code, pre-compile it, and then refer to it in other places. And that's before, remember, we did that with the class library. We wrapped a lot of this stuff up so that we could just say, hey, give me the class library components and pull them in from that library.
Right.
And customizing all their properties. Well, this is using that same exact functionality. It's this WiX lib. Now, ILSpy will not decompile this. I don't have a thing that'll take this WiX lib apart. So we have to go switch to the other side, which is going and looking at the WiX code. Okay? But I wanted you to see that this is where all that code is coming from. The fact that we added the WiX extension right here as a package reference causes this assembly to get added to the tool set, and then as part of the build chain, this WiX lib becomes available for us to use. And the way that we used it was we just said, hey, can you please give me the property with this name? And that's going into that WiX lib out of that binary, yanking it out and including whatever content it needs to from that WiX lib. Have I lost you yet?
Not yet, no.
Not yet. All right, great. So, turns out the WiX toolset is open source. Everybody knew that, right? So, right. Let's go take a look at WiX. I'm going to look at develop branch because WiX 5 hasn't changed from WiX 4. And we can look at that. All right, so if we go look at source, make this a couple bigger, extensions, yeah, I'm logged in as me, and then you can see all of our extensions in here. Oh, look, there's our UI extension. We've used that one already. Oh, look, here's our NetFX extension. That's one we're going to take a look at right now. All right, NetFX extension has some support custom action codes in it. It has our WiX extension, which is our C# code that puts all of it. And then here's our WiX lib itself. And look, a WiX lib is composed of WXS files, right? No surprises. And we want to maybe look at NetFX net4721, all right? Let's see what's in this. All right, cool. Now, this is just WiX code. Hopefully this looks familiar. WiX element at the top. Here's a fragment. Oh, look, they use a property ref inside WiX. I'm going to say they, even though it's me, as it's us, whatever. It's all the same thing.
Right.
Hey, look, here's our property. WiX framework 472 later is installed. Look, that matches the one that we were looking for. This is the code right here that gets compiled as part of the WiX build process. That, you know, the 15, 20, 40 minute, whatever the build process is on your machine that builds all these things, this is the line of code. This is the property that we're referring to. And look, here's a set property. WiX net framework later is installed. And look, its value getting set to 1. This lines up exactly what we were seeing before, right?
Right.
And look, it happens after app search. That sounds very similar to our remember property pattern, right? Mm-hmm. And look, it has a condition. If the WiX NetFX release is installed, is greater than or equal to the version of this min release. Okay, so we have to go figure out what this WiX NetFX release installed is, which we'll go look at next. But if this number is greater than or equal to whatever this variable is, which is right up here, 461808, okay, internal work, then this is WiX is network framework installed will get set to 1. Okay, there's no magic here, right? We don't know what these are just random numbers at this point, but this is the same logic that we had in our remember property pattern.
Right.
No magic. All we have to do now is kind of decipher what's going on. Well, where is WiX NetFX 4 installed? Well, here's a property ref off to WiX 4 FX release installed. And I have a feeling that that's not going to be inside this file. Maybe it will. Nope, it's not in this file. All right, so let's test the search, not go to file. I thought there was search in here. I'm not used to it being this small. All right, we're gonna go back up a directory. Bob, do you know where it's at off the top of your head? Otherwise, I'm gonna have to poke around a little bit. And this is the same thing you'd be doing if you were walking through the code. I'm looking for, I found it. I guessed well. I went into the NetFX extension WXS file real fast, and here's the property. And what's this property doing? Oh, it's doing a registry search. We've seen registry search before. That just goes off and reads the registry key, right?
Yep.
And gets the value of the name release and gets the raw value. So it reads this registry key, software Microsoft Network NDP v4 full, reads that value and puts it into this property right here. Right?
Right.
Ta-da. Martin really wants me to talk about secure. I'll talk about @secure probably later. I have a UI in place. It's one of the reasons I brought UI in, Martin, to kind of break that thing down a little bit more. So I probably will need to talk about it then. Anyway, so we're skipping over secure now, but I will put it on the backlog, especially since you asked nicely. RGR. Do you know what RGR is? I don't know what RGR is.
Roger.
Oh, Roger. For a second, I was afraid it meant like regrets. All right.
Regrets.
All right. Let's bring up regedit on my machine, and there's my elevation prompt, and let's go to this key right here under HKLM. HKey current user, not that one. HKey local machine, / paste that value in there. Boom. V4 full, and the name it's looking for is release, and that number is 533320. Okay?
Right.
On my machine, that is 53320. And if we look at 472, this one is 461808. So if the number on the machine is greater, then we have next 472 installed, which is why it's true.
Yep.
There we go. We just went into the WiX code all the way down and found it. All right. I want to then go see, let's see if it's 48. What's the number of 48? 528040. That's still too small. Let's see. How about netfx 481? 533320. 533320. I have .NET Framework 481 installed on this computer, on my computer, which makes sense because I have Windows 11 with the latest updates.
Right.
All the magic is gone. We went into the NuGet, into the assembly, found the WiX lib that was embedded inside there that gets hooked into the WiX Toolset build process, and went, okay, let's go look at that code, and then go all the way back, and then go look at here, and figure out how that WiX lib is then built. And this is the code for that. Have we removed all the magic smoke? All the special secrets? Yeah. I mean, we just kind of tied it all together. Now, you don't have to use the WiX code. You could go and figure all this stuff out for yourself. All these pieces are documented somewhere on MSDN. A lot of these are up here. You can see we leave documentation for ourselves. We have to go look at them. Or more importantly, when they release a new version of .NET Framework, these are really helpful for us to remember where to go look for the newer versions, right, and all that kind of good stuff. Probably close regedit. Or you can just use this thing that's built into WiX. So you don't have to do all that work. You just do the property ref and then refer to the extension where all that code is contained. It's not built in the WiX Toolset. I mean, we could have chosen to make this functionality built into like the WiX XE, but where do we stop? That'd be like the entire Windows system we'd have to build in there. And then every time it changed, we had to rev WiX and all that stuff. So we chose not to, and we start slicing off functionality based off of the extensions.
Right. That makes sense.
Yep. All right. All right.
Got it.
That's what I wanted to cover today. Sparring. What do you want to talk about? Martin wants to talk about secure. That's going to be a deeper topic. I do want to go into it, but it's going to take longer than today. Other things people are curious about what's going on. I think Paul and Bob had a conversation. What do you think, David? Could we just add the XML section instead of installing the NuGet package? Oh, yeah, no, because hopefully we tied it together with the project reference to bring that file again. All right, hopefully this demonstration that we walked through answered Paul's question in the end. I think he asked that before we went through all the folders and everything.
Right.
Other things.
No, I think you covered it pretty well. I mean, right, it's an interesting concept. I never would have thought to dig down it like that. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's the advantages of open source. You can dig into all these things and see how it's done. And then you can go off and build your own systems if you need to with this level of reusability, right? The idea is to take core functionality and make it very reusable. Or perhaps if you find that you need WiX 4.9, I don't think they're ever going to do it. Sorry, not WiX, NetFX 4.9. Not that there's any plans we've heard that they're going to do that. Well, if that comes out, then maybe you could make the change to WiX to add WiX 4.9 so that you can help us out so that those of us that work on WiX aren't having to do all the updates. Someone else can come along and say, hey, I found this. We should have this property. It's like, oh yeah, that one's missing. Let's add that.
Right.
other spaces that you're in when you're working on it. Instead of creating your own private version, you now can have a little bit more structure in knowing that I contribute that to Wix, and then everybody can benefit from it.
Right.
Cool.
Cool.
All right. Well, I think that's today's episode. We're a little bit over 40 minutes. I think that's usually what we're kind of settling on, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not a 30-minute show. It's more of a 40-minute show, although the last couple ones have been an hour or a little bit more. All right. Well, that's what I wanted to cover today. Maybe I'll go dig out secure for the next one, David. I'm sure you're wondering, what is secure?
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
No, and it's pretty cryptic, but it is related to the things we've been doing here. And now that we have UI, I think we can actually cause it to kick in, and we'll be able to see how secure properties work without having a UI. We couldn't cause it to happen before, which is why I haven't dug into it deeply, because I'm reticent to go sometimes dig into more complex concepts without having the basics along, where we didn't even have a UI. All right, but before I could add a UI, I certainly didn't want to write a whole UI because it takes lots of typing. So I thought we better add a WiX UI. Oh, to add WiX UI, we had to add extensions. So now we have extensions, and you guys have now seen my teaching sheet as I work my what is it? My plan, my class plan. I don't know. There's a particular word for it that's not coming to me.
Your syllabus?
Yeah, I get in the syllabus, yes. Except I definitely didn't do a syllabus for this class up front, right? You guys didn't get all your syllabus at the beginning. You know, the final will be on this date. None of those things. All right. So that's where we're at. I wanted to cover in that so you could see that you can refer to extensions. Some things are referred to extensions without necessarily going through a custom element, right? The UI, you do go through custom element. To get this Wix is net effects, you just have to use a simple property ref and pull it right in.
Right.
And there are things like that. Until next week, I want you guys all keep coding. We have more things coming next week. Maybe we'll drop secure in there or something like that. That'll be fun. But in the meantime, you guys keep coding. You know I am. Bye.
See ya.